What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel once again. So today we're going to be taking a look at the XTOOL F1 Ultra, which does feature both a 20-watt diode laser and a 20-watt fiber laser. We're also going to be taking a look at the XTOOL Safety Pro AP2. Now, I don't have this on the table right now. It actually is on the floor because it is really big and it also wouldn't fit on the table. So first things first is to get this unboxed and get it out. So I will just need to take this off of the table to do that because, again, it is rather big. So I'll do that and then we'll come back right after that. So here I did get it out of the box, and as you saw, it did come nicely packaged, and you can see all the cords and everything right over there in that box, which we'll get to in a minute. But let's finish getting this unboxed. All right, so I got everything laid out on the table, and this is everything that it does come with. You can see the material pack, the hose, the touchscreen controller, screwdrivers, cables, cloths, all that kind of stuff. The user manual, quick start guide, safety instructions, and this actually had this inside of it. Now, I thought it was a material pack or something because of the wood that was on top, but it actually is just a cover, and it's kind of glued on. But yeah, I could probably use that to test a piece, so bonus. So I'll get this all set up now. I'm also gonna unbox the Safety Pro AP2 Air Purifier to go with this and get that all set up on the table as well, so I can also use that. So I'll do that and we'll be right back. All right, so I got the air purifier all taken out of the box, and as you can see, the size comparison, this is a little bit bigger, and this probably does weigh a little bit more. I think this weighs probably around 25 pounds, give or take. But what I do like about this is that it actually is on wheels, so I can easily turn this if I need to. So now it's time to try this all out. So I'm actually gonna get this off of the table, get my computer all set up, get everything plugged in, and let's try something out. So I have the F1 Ultra all set up along with the air purifier attached, which is actually on the ground behind the table. Setting up the air purifier was extremely easy as well, as I just needed to connect the hose to the threaded adapter and remove the filters from the protective packaging and put them right back in. As you can see on top, the buttons are right on top for easy access to turn it on, and there's even an auto fan button to let the machine control the fan speed. Of course, you always have the option to use the manual mode though to control the speed if you want to choose that method instead. Now, I was originally planning on showing how to use the F1 Ultra in detail on first using it and how to use the software and everything like that, but I decided against that. Instead, I spent the last 2 weeks trying out this machine in depth and testing it on a bunch of different material. Now, the reason for that change is because while I was testing out the very first engraving, I realized that this machine is so simple to use that it really doesn't need a video on how to actually use it and the software. It's also the same software that I showed when I reviewed the XTOOL AP2, so I didn't feel like I needed a tutorial once again showing that same software. If you missed that video though, I will put a link down in the description on where you can check that out. So before I get more into this though, I'm just going to show a few quick time lapses of some of the things I engraved and tested on, and then I'll go into more detail. So I'm going to jump right in now to what I think about this machine and then my thoughts on using it. So right off the bat, when I connected it to my computer, the software instantly found it, although I did need to update the firmware, but that only took about a minute. The software also asked me to run a calibration test on the machine just to make sure everything was accurate and nothing got shifted around at all during shipping. XTool did include the black calibration sheets though, so I didn't have to find any black paper or go out and buy some. All I needed to do was tape down the sheet of paper, run the quick engraving, and make any adjustments in the software in case it was off a little bit. I did find that the calibration was slightly off, but only by like a millimeter or so, and it was very easy to adjust just by clicking the auto recognize button. Once everything was calibrated properly, I decided to run the first test on one of the black aluminum business cards that came in the material pack. Setting everything up in the software is extremely easy. To add text, you just need to click on the text icon on the left, and they even include a library of images to use as well. I chose just to type XTool and add a little image of a cow underneath. Since this was just for a quick test, I really wasn't too worried about the size I made everything or if it was even properly aligned. Once I had everything laid out in the software, I just needed to adjust the settings I needed for the material that was going to be engraved. XTool made that very simple by including a ton of presets already available, so I just needed to click on the material I wanted to engrave, and the settings popped up automatically. Now I could set these manually, but for just about everything I tried out, I used the settings that they had already had for each material. I did change the settings on the cow though, which I was able to do with just a click of a button as well. There is an option that lets you visually choose the speed and power based on the picture provided, so that makes it really simple. Once everything was set up, I clicked on the framing button to make sure that it was in the correct spot, and then clicked on Go to Process. Once you click on the Process button, it brings you to a screen to preview everything, and then you can hit Start, which will send it to the machine. Sending it doesn't actually start the engraving though. You still need to head to the touchscreen controller and press the big XTool button. Then it's just a matter of waiting a few seconds or so for it to finish. So here's how that turned out. I think it turned out pretty much perfectly. You can see the different settings that I chose from the cow, that it's a little bit darker in some spots, but overall, I think that worked great. After that initial quick engraving, I wanted to see if the 20-watt IR laser was powerful enough to cut through metal, so I ran a test on the same aluminum business card, and it had no problem cutting it out. I did have a little trouble removing the small pieces inside the letters, but overall it cut it cleanly. I probably could have slowed it down just a little bit more, but it did work on the first try. I then ran a bunch more tests on different materials to see how well they worked. I tried some deep engraving on a piece of steel with the YouTube logo, and that was actually able to cut very deep, as you can see. I also ran just some quick markings and changed some settings slightly just to see the different results. I tried on a piece of leather engraving Calvin and Hobbes, if you know and are familiar with that comic strip, and as you can see, I think that turned out really good. I tried it on a piece of slate embossing the Spider-Man logo that I designed, and I did run the full 256 passes on this, and it did take about 2 hours and 22 minutes to complete, but I think overall this turned out awesome. I tried it on one of these small stainless steel tags to engrave something really small and to test the accuracy of the camera. This right here is the all-seeing eye, and you can see how small the design is and how well it picked up the detail. I tried engraving some cement rock with another one of my designs that I created. This is Jason from Friday the 13th crawling out of the rock, and I think this turned out awesome. I plan on doing some more engravings like this in the future. Now, some rocks will work better than others, so you'll have to make some adjustments, and also keep in mind that certain rocks are more dense than others, so some of them just won't work at all, no matter what you do and what settings you make. Here's an example of another one that I tried. I'm not kind of sure what type of rock this is, but you can see that it really didn't pick up much of the detail, and some of it just kind of scattered away. But if you find a nice, good, dense rock, I think your results could be amazing. I tried engraving an image on wood along with embossing the wood because I wanted to test out the diode laser as well as the IR laser as well. And as you can see, I think these turned out great. I tried doing numerous embossings on some slightly different settings to see which ones turned out the best. Now, I probably should have tried with the same design, But I thought it'd be more fun to try with different height maps. And I think if you look at the cat one, I think that one to me probably turned out the best. You can see the settings here that I used. I didn't put the settings on the other ones. This one was just the original. This one does have the settings as well. But I think the cat probably turned out the best, and it is kind of the deepest. So yeah, I think they turned out great overall, but I will be testing this some more just to see if I can get even better results. For this engraved image, I simply chose the material to engrave on and used XTool settings. I didn't make any adjustments to the image like brightness or gamma or anything like that, and I didn't process it in any other software like Imager. I simply grabbed the image from the internet, imported it, and hit start. And even without any correction, I still think it turned out really good, but it certainly could be a little bit better if I made a little bit more adjustments, just because you can see that it is a little bit dark and not all the detail picked up. But overall, for just a quick test, I think it turned out really good. So let's talk about how everything worked now and my thoughts on this machine. So first off, I have to say that out of all the laser engraving machines that I have used, this one sticks out as one of my favorite due to the fact that it has this built-in camera, which makes aligning everything you're trying to engrave or cutting extremely easy. I was blown away by the accuracy of the camera as it was almost dead on. You can see in that tiny stainless steel piece how accurate it was in the positioning. What's nice about the camera feature too is you can literally just throw your material onto the bed, and as long as it's in the workspace, you can easily arrange what you want to engrave right in the software without having to move your material around. The second thing that stood out to me was actually the fan along with the air purifier with it. While I was engraving wood and slate, all that smoke and dust was sucked out and filtered through the air purifier. I didn't see any smoke seeping out of the cracks of the machine and didn't smell one hint of smoke during this entire process. There was some dust though that settled on the ground, along with some dust that was stuck to the inside of the machine, but I expected that. To remove that though, I just grabbed a little Swiffer duster and that cleaned it right up. Now inside the software, you can also check the status of your filters on the air purifier so you know how much is actually remaining before you need to replace them, and to me, that is really cool. I think the software is very easy to use, like I said before. Getting everything set up inside of the canvas is pretty straightforward. Once you learn some of the shortcut keys too, that will definitely speed things up for you when you need to move things around, pan, or zoom in or out. You can also use the power of AI to create your own images. As an example, I just typed in dog drinking water and it quickly creates an image on what you type. Now, this does use credit, so if you run out, you will have to purchase more. But if you are unhappy with the image, you can delete it without importing it and get most of your credits back. Now, I didn't use this image as it was just a test, but you can see all the different things you can create with this function. Also inside the software, if you click on the applications icon, you can insert QR codes or barcodes, create different arrays, and even set up a material test grid just like you would in Lightburn. There are a few things that I think could be a little bit better about the software though, and one of those things is that you are only able to choose one method of processing at a time. For instance, if you choose to engrave on a flat plane, you can't choose to emboss at the same time in the same canvas. Now, that's really not that big of a deal, but I think it would be a nice feature to include in maybe the next software update. Also with the software, when I was doing an emboss engrave, I wasn't able to go higher than 256 passes. That was the cutoff. I could go lower, but I couldn't go any higher. I know when I'm using Lightburn, I can set the number of passes to basically anything I want. So if I choose 512 passes, Lightburn will basically duplicate each layer it processes. Now, the F1 is actually compatible with Lightburn, so if I wanted to use that software, I could. With that being said though, there is a feature that XTool has that Lightburn doesn't yet, and that is to be able to control the Z-axis on the fiber laser as it engraves each layer. When I was engraving the rock and slate, I was able to set the Z-axis to adjust down by 0.01 millimeters every layer or as often as I want. In Lightburn, you currently can't do that. What that does is actually keeps the laser in focus as layers slowly get burned away, keeping everything more precise. The F1 Ultra is also capable of engraving on curved surfaces. Now this feature is still in beta mode, but when I tried engraving this spoon, I think the results are fantastic. I did have to make some small adjustments when it was trying to measure some of the distances, as one of the points kept giving me an error and saying it couldn't read it. Now that could be because of the object I was using, and the reflective surface might have caused that, but when I shrunk the design down just a little bit, it then worked just fine. I also like that you can connect this machine via Wi-Fi or transfer your files to a USB card, so you won't have to connect it to a computer to use it. That makes it easy if you have your machine in a different location from your computer, or if you know you're going to be processing a lot of the same objects, just load them onto the USB card and you can easily repeat that engraving over and over again without having to reset everything up into software. I do like the controller and touchscreen, which makes it very easy to raise and lower the lens if needed and see exactly what you're processing, how much time has passed, and what the remaining time is. This machine, along with the air purifier, is also rather quiet. Now, you can certainly hear it running, but it's really not that bad even when the fans are going. It's definitely quieter than some of the other machines I have tested out in the past, but again, you can hear it, and it will make some noise because it is a fan, but overall, it's really not that loud at all. The combination of the 20-watt diode along with the 20-watt IR enables you to engrave on just about any material out there. If you are looking to do some deep engraving on metal, this can certainly handle that. Now, it won't be as fast as some of the more powerful fiber lasers out there, but you also aren't spending $5,000 to $10,000 on a dedicated fiber laser. And as a bonus, you get the 20-watt diode laser as well to engrave on materials like wood with the same crazy fast speeds, and to me, that's a total win. I have a project I'm currently working on where I need to engrave a ton of 304 stainless steel pieces, and that need to be precise, which you can see right here. And this made it so easy to get everything aligned accurately. With the simple click of a button, the camera takes a picture of how the piece is aligned on the bed, and then all I have to do is place the text where I need it to be. To try and do that on any other fiber laser would take me forever, as I'd have to align one piece at a time, one number at a time, check the contour, then do another one. The F1 has made this a huge time saver. And after running a test piece, I found that this only took 47 seconds, which will allow me to make about 60 of these in an hour. The software makes it simple as well to process multiple pieces, as I just need to click on process again once the next one's finished. So let me give you an example. I need to engrave around 1,000 or so of these, and if I charge something like $2 to $3 a piece, you can see how one job could almost pay for the entire machine itself, not to mention how fast it is to swap out the piece for one another and engrave again. I can use this little aligning piece to screw it into the base so I can easily place a new piece there without having to make any adjustments to the image. Now, this machine isn't the most powerful that I've used, nor is it the fastest, but it's still incredibly powerful, and the features that it has makes it stand out even more. For what you're getting for the price, like the 20-watt diode, the 20-watt fiber, the built-in camera, the ability to move the Z-axis while the machine is engraving, the large engraving area, the protective cover, the ability to engrave on just about any material, this really does stand out higher than some of the others. You're not going to find a better machine that does all of this at this price point. Now, there are a few things I think could be improved on this machine. The first thing that I noticed is that there aren't any handles on this, so trying to carry it is rather awkward. I kept wanting to pick it up from the sides, and that just lifts the cover up. I ended up having to tilt the machine backwards or forwards to be able to get under it to lift it. Now, that isn't a huge deal, but if you're carrying it around a lot for work or to trade shows or something like that, having some handles built in would definitely make it easier. So second, there isn't a way to remove the cover if you need to clean it for any other reason. Now, maybe there is an easy way without removing screws or other hardware, but if there is, I haven't figured that out yet, and it's not in the manual. To clean the inside of the cover though, I just raise it up as high as it goes and use my Swiffer to remove any dust. I think the only other thing that I would change about this machine is maybe a slightly longer adapter cord to connect it to the computer, as the supplied one just isn't very long. So none of those things are really that big of a deal or impact how well the machine actually works. It's just some things I think would make this machine that much better. So overall, I would definitely recommend this machine. For all of you that are new to engraving, or for those that currently own laser engravers but are looking to upgrade to something that can do more or be able to process different material, I would totally recommend looking into this machine. Keep in mind though that this doesn't have a massive engraving area like the XTOOL AP2, so if you plan on engraving really large pieces, I would recommend checking that out. Again though, I'll put a link in the description on where you can check that out as well. Now there are accessories like the conveyor that will allow you to engrave really long pieces or do batch engraving, And there's also a rotary attachment as well with this, so if you're trying to engrave round objects, you can. The machine itself also doesn't take up a whole lot of space, so you can easily place it on a small table, and if you get the air purifier with it, you can set that on the ground, and it even has wheels to make moving it around very, very simple. I will put links to both the F1 Ultra and the air purifier down below in the description as well, so make sure to go check those out if you are interested. Well, that's going to be it with this video, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below, ring the bell, make sure to get notified of all the new videos that come out, and as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.